Good morning to all of you. Today is 20th day of Bhagavad Gita, chapter 7, Knowledge of the Absolute. Verses first. Let's get started. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, "Now hear, O son of Parth, how? By practicing yoga in full consciousness of me, with mind attached to me, you can know me in full, free from doubt." In this 17th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, the nature of Krishna consciousness is fully described. Krishna is full in all opulences, and how he manifests such opulences is described herein. Also, four kinds of fortunate people who become attached to Krishna and four kinds of unfortunate people who never take to Krishna are described in this chapter. In these first 6 chapters of Bhagavad Gita, the living entity has been described as non-material spirit, soul capable of elevating himself to self-realization by different types of yogas. At the end of 6th chapter, it has been clearly stated that steady concentrations of the mind upon Krishna, or in other words, Krishna consciousness, is the highest form of all yoga. By concentrating one's mind upon Krishna, one is able to know the absolute truth completely, but not otherwise. Impersonal, Brahmjyoti, or localized Paramatma. Realization is not perfect knowledge of the absolute truth, because it is partial, full, and scientific knowledge is Krishna, and everything is revealed to the person in Krishna consciousness. In complete Krishna consciousness, one knows that Krishna is ultimate knowledge beyond any doubts. Different types of yoga are only stepping stones on the path of Krishna consciousness. One who takes directly to Krishna consciousness automatically knows about Brahmjyoti and Paramatma in full. By practice of Krishna consciousness yoga, one can know everything in full, namely the absolute truth, the living entities, their material nature, and their manifestations with paraphernalia. One should therefore begin yoga practice as directed in the last verse of the 6th chapter, concentration of the mind upon Krishna. The Supreme is made possible by prescribed devotional service in mind in 9 different forms, of which Sarvanam is the first and most important. The Lord therefore says to Arjuna, "Heed from me, no one can be a great authority that Krishna, and therefore by hearing from him one receives the greatest opportunity to become a perfectly Krishna conscious person. One has therefore to learn from Krishna directly, or from a pure devotee of Krishna, and not from a non-devotee. Upstart, puffed up with academic education." In the Srimad Bhagavatam, this process of undertaking Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Absolute Truth, is described in the 2nd chapter of 1st canto as follows. To hear about Krishna from Vedic literatures, or to hear from him directly through the Bhagavad Gita, is itself righteous activity. And for one who hears about Krishna, Lord Krishna, who is dwelling in everyone's heart, acts as a best wishing friend and purifies the devotee who constantly engages in hearing of him. In this way, a devotee naturally develops his dormant transcendental knowledge as he hears more about Krishna from the Bhagavatam and from the devotees. He becomes fixed in the devotional service of the Lord. By development of devotional service, one becomes freed from the modes of passion and ignorance, and thus material lusts and avarice are diminished when these impurities are wiped away. The candidate remains steady in his position of pure goodness, become unleavened by devotional service and understands the science of God perfectly. Thus, Bhakti Yoga savors the hard note of material affection and enables one to come at once to the stage of understanding of the Supreme Absolute Truth, Personality of Godhead. Therefore, only by hearing from Krishna or from his devotee in Krishna consciousness can one understand the science of Krishna. Verse is second. I shall now declare unto you in full this knowledge, both phenomenal and numinous. This begin known. Nothing further shall remain for you to know. Complete knowledge includes knowledge of the phenomenal world, the spirit behind it, and the source of both of them. This is transcendental knowledge. The Lord wants to explain the above mentioned system of knowledge. Because Arjun is Krishna's confidential devotee and friend in the beginning of the 4th chapter, this explanation was given by the Lord. And it is again confirmed here. Complete knowledge can be achieved only by the devotee of the Lord in disciplic succession, directly from the Lord. Therefore, one should be intelligent enough to know the source of all knowledge, who is the cause of all causes and the only object for meditation in all types of yoga practice. When the cause of all causes becomes known, then everything knowable becomes known and nothing remains unknown. The Veds say. Verse is third. Out of many thousands among men, one may endeavor for perfection, and of those who have achieved perfection, hardly one knows me in truth. There are various grades of man, and out of many thousands, one may be sufficiently interested in transcendental realization to try to know what is the self, what is the body, and what is the absolute truth. Generally, mankind is simply engaged in the animal propensities, namely eating, sleeping, defending, and mating, and hardly anyone is interested in transcendental knowledge. The first 6 chapters of the Gita are meant for those who are interested in transcendental knowledge and understanding the self, the super self, and the process of realization by Jnana Yoga and Dhyana Yoga, and discrimination of the self from matter. However, Christian can be known only by persons who are in Christian consciousness. Other transcendentalists may achieve impersonal Brahman realization, for this is easier than understanding Christian. Christian is the supreme person, but at the same time, he is beyond the knowledge of Brahman and Paramatma. The yogis and jnanis are confused in their attempts to understand Krishna, although the greatest of the impersonalists, Sripad Sankaracharya, has admitted in the Gita commentary that Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead. His followers do not accept Krishna as such, for it is very difficult to know Krishna even though one is transcendental realization of impersonal Brahman. Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead, the cause of all causes, the primeval Lord Govind. It is very difficult for the non-devotees to know him, although non-devotees declare that the path of bhakti or devotional service is very easy. They cannot practice it. If the path of bhakti is so easy as the non-devotee class of man proclaim, then why do they take up the difficult path? Actually, the path of bhakti is not easy. The so-called path of bhakti practiced by unauthorized persons without knowledge of bhakti may be easy, but when it is practiced factually according to the rules and regulations, the speculative scholars and philosophers fall away from the path. Srila Rup Goswami writes in his Bhakti Rasmarth Sindhu, devotional service of the Lord, that ignores the authorized Vedic literatures like the Upanishad, Purans and Narad Panchatantra is simply an unnecessary disturbance in society. It is not possible for the Brahman realized impersonalist or the Paramatma realized yogi to understand Krishna, the supreme personality of Godhead, as the son of Mother Yashoda, or the Charitir of Arjun. Even the great demigods are sometimes confused about Krishna. No one knows me as I am, the Lord says, and if one does know him, then such a great soul is very rare. Therefore, unless one practices devotional service to the Lord, one cannot know Krishna as he is, even though one is a great scholar or philosopher. Only the pure devotees can know something of the inconceivable omnipotence and opulence, and in the wealth, fame, strength, beauty, knowledge, and renunciation, because Krishna is benevolently inclined to his devotees. He is the last word in Brahman realization, and the devotees alone can realize him as he is. Therefore, it is said, no one can understand Krishna as he is by the blunt material senses, but he reveals himself to the devotees, being pleased with them for their transcendental loving service unto him. Verse is fourth. Arth water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, and false ego. Altogether, these eight constitute my separated material energies. The science of God analyzes the constitutional position of God and his diverse energies. Material nature is called Prakriti, or the energy of the Lord in its different incarnation, expansions as described in the Satvata Tantra. Swatantra Tantra. For material creation, Lord Krishna's plenary expansions assumes three Vishnus. The first one, Mahavishnu, creates a total material energy known as the Mahatattva. The second, Garbhodha Kashai Vishnu, enters into all the universes to create diversities in each of them. The third, Shirodakashi Vishnu, is diffused as the all pervading super soul in all the universes and is known as Paramatma. He is present even within the atoms. Anyone who knows these three Vishnus can be liberated from material entanglement. This material world is a temporary manifestation at once of the energies of the Lord. All the activities of the material world are directed by these three Vishnu expansions of Lord Krishna. These processes are called incarnations. Generally, one who does not know the science of God, Krishna, assumes that this material world is for the enjoyment of the living entities and that the living entities are the producers, the causes, controllers, and enjoyers of the material energy. According to Bhagavad Gita, this atheistic conclusion is false. In the verse under discussion, it is stated that Krishna is the original cause of the material manifestation. Srimad Bhagavatam also confirms this. The ingredients of the material manifestation are separated energies of the Lord. Even the Brahmjyoti, which is the ultimate goal of the impersonalist, is a spiritual energy manifested in the spiritual sky. There are no spiritual diversities in the Brahmjyoti as there are in the Vaikuntha Loka, and the impersonalist accepts this Brahmjyoti as the ultimate eternal goal. The Paramatma manifestation is also temporary, all pervasive aspect of the Shirodakashayi Vishnu. The Paramatma manifestation is not eternal in the spiritual world. Therefore, the factual absolute truth is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. He is the complete energetic person and he possesses different separated and internal energies. In the material energy, the principal manifestations are 8 as above mentioned. Out of these, the first 5 manifestation, namely earth, water, fire, air and sky, are called the 5 gigantic creations or the gross creation, within which the five sense objects are included. They are manifestations of physical sound, touch, form, taste, smell. Material science comprises these 10 items and nothing more. But the other three items, namely mind, intelligence, and false ego, are neglected by the materialists. Philosophers who deal with mental activities are also not perfect in knowledge because they do not know the ultimate source, Christian, the false ego, I am, and it is mine, which constitute the basic principle of material existence, includes 10 sense organs, 4 material activities. Intelligence refers to the total material creation called the Mahatattva. Therefore, from the 8 separated energies of the Lord are manifest the 24 elements of the material world, which are the subject matter of Sankhya atheistic philosophy. They are originally offshoots from Krishna's energy and are separated from him. But atheistic Sankhya philosophers with a poor fund of knowledge do not know Krishna as the cause of all causes, the subject matter for discussion in the Sankhya. Philosophy is only the manifestation of the external energy of Krishna as it is described in the Bhagavad Gita. Verse is fifth. Besides these, Almighty armed Arjun, there is another superior energy of mind which comprises the living entities who are exploiting the resources of this material inferior nature. Here it is clearly mentioned that living entities belong to the superior nature of the Supreme Lord. The inferior energy is matter manifested in different elements, namely earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, and false ego, both forms of material nature, namely gross, earth, etc., and subtle or mind, etc., are products of the inferior energy. The living entities who are exploiting these inferior energies for different purposes are the superior energy of the Supreme Lord, and it is due to this energy that the entire material world functions. The cosmic manifestation has no power to act unless it is moved by the superior energy, the living entity. Energies are always controlled by the energetic, and therefore the living entities are always controlled by the Lord. They have no independent existence. They are never equally powerful as unintelligent men think. The distinction between the living entities and the Lord is described in Srimad Bhagavatam as follows. O Supreme Eternal, if the embodied living entities were eternal and all pervading like you, then they would not be under your control. But if the living entities are accepted as minute energies of your Lordship, then they are at once subject to your supreme control. Therefore, real liberation entails surrender by the living entities to your control, and that surrender will make them happy. In that constitutional position, only can they be controllers. Therefore, men with limited knowledge who advocate the monistic theory that God and the living entities are equal in all respects are actually guided by a faulty and polluted opinion. The Supreme Lord Krishna is the only controller, and all living entities are controlled by him. These living entities are his superior energy because the quality of their existence is one and the same with the Supreme Lord, but they are never equal to the Lord in quantitative power. While exploiting the gross and subtle inferior energy of matter, the superior energy of the living entity forgets his real spiritual mind and intelligence. This forgetfulness is due to the influence of matter upon the living entity. But when the living entity becomes free from the influence of the illusory material energy, he attains the stage called mukti or liberation, the false ego. Under the influence of material illusion thinks I am matter, and material accusations are mind. His actual position is released when he is liberated from all material ideas, including the conception of his becoming one in all respects with God. Therefore, one may conclude that the Gita confirms the living entity to be only one of the multi energies of Krishna, and when this energy is freed from material contamination, it becomes fully Krishna conscious or liberated. Verses 6th. All created beings have their source in these two natures of all that is material and all that is spiritual in this world. Know for certain that I am both the origin and the dissolution. Everything that exists is a product of matter and spirit. Spirit is the basic field of creation, and matter is created by spirit. Spirit is not created at a certain stage of material development. Rather, this material world is manifested only on the basis of spiritual energy. This material body is developed because spirit is present within matter. A child grows gradually to boyhood and then to manhood because that superior energy, spirit soul, is present. Similarly, the entire cosmic manifestation of the genetic universe is developed because of the presence of the super soul, Vishnu. Therefore, spirit and matter, which combine to manifest this genetic universal form, are originally two energies of the Lord, and consequently, the Lord is the original cause of everything. A fragmental part and parcel of the Lord, namely the living entity, may be the cause of a big skyscraper, a big factory, or even a big city, but he cannot be the cause of a big universe. The cause of the big universe is the big soul, or the super soul, and Krishna. The super me is a cause of both the big and small souls. Therefore, he is the original cause of all causes. This is confirmed in the Katha Upanishad. Verse is 7th. O conqueror of wealth, there is no truth superior to me. Everything rests upon me as pearls are strung on a thread. There is a common controversy over whether the supreme absolute truth is personal or impersonal. As far as Bhagavad Gita is concerned, the absolute truth is the personality of Godhead, Shri Krishna, and this is confirmed in every step. In this verse in particular, it is stressed that the absolute truth is a person, that the personality of Godhead is a supreme absolute truth is also the affirmation of the Bhagavad Gita, affirmation of the Brahm Samhita. That is the supreme absolute truth personality of Godhead is Lord Krishna, who is the primeval Lord, the reservoir of all pleasure, Govind, and the eternal from of complete bliss and knowledge. These authorities leave no doubt that the absolute truth is the supreme person, the cause of all causes. The impersonalist, however, argues on the strength of the Vedic perversion given in the material world Brahma, the primeval living entity within the universe, is understood to be the supreme amongst the demigods, human beings, and lower animals. But beyond Brahma, there is a transcendence who has no material form and is free from all material contamination. Anyone who can know him also becomes transcendental, but those who do not know him suffer the miseries of the material world. The impersonalist puts more stress on the word arupam, but this arupam is not impersonal. It indicates the transcendental form of eternity. Bliss and knowledge are described in the Brahm Samhita, quoted above. Other verses in the Shvetavatra Upanishad substantiate this as follow. I know that Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is transcendental to all material conception of darkness. Only he who knows him can transcend the bonds of birth and death. There is no way for liberation other than this knowledge of that supreme person. There is no truth superior to that supreme person, because he is the supermost. He is smaller than the smallest, and he is greatest than the greatest. He is situated as a silent tree. He illumines the transcendental sky, and as a tree spreads its roots, he spreads his extensive energies. From these verses, one concludes that the supreme absolute truth is the supreme personality of Godhead, who is all pervading by his multi energies, both material and spiritual. Verse is 8th. One son of Kunti and a taste of water. the light of the sun and the moon. The syllable Om in the Vedic mantras and the sound in other and ability in man. This verse explains how to this verse explains how the world is all pervasive pervasive by his diverse material and spiritual energies. The Supreme Lord can be preliminarily perceived by his different energies, and in this way, he is realized impersonally as the demigods in the sun is a person and is perceived by his all pervading energy. The sun sign, so the Lord, although in his eternal abode, is perceived by his all pervading diffusive energies. The taste of water is the active principle of water. No one likes to drink seawater because the pure taste of water is mixed with salt attraction. For water depends on the purity of the taste, and this pure taste is one of the energies of the Lord. The impersonalist perceives the presence of the Lord in water by its taste, and the personalist also glorifies the Lord for his kindly supplying tasty water to quench man's thirst. That is a way of perceiving the Supreme. Practically speaking, there is no conflict between personalism and impersonalism. One who knows God knows that the impersonal conception and personal conception are simultaneously present in everything and that there is no contradiction. Therefore, Lord Chaitanya established his sublime doctrine simultaneous oneness and difference. The light of the sun and the moon is also originally emanating from the Brahmjyoti, which is the impersonal affluence of the Lord, and Pranav or the Omkara, transcendental sound in the beginning of every Vedic hymn, address the Supreme Lord. Because the impersonalists are very much afraid of addressing the Supreme Lord Krishna by his innumerable names. They prefer to vibrate the transcendental sound Omkara. Transcendental sound in the beginning of every Vedic hymn addresses the Supreme Lord because the impersonalists are very much afraid of addressing the Supreme Lord Krishna by his innumerable names. They prefer to vibrate the transcendental sound Omkara, but they do not realize that Omkara is a sound representation of Krishna. The jurisdictions of Krishna consciousness extends everywhere, and one who knows Krishna consciousness is blessed. Those who do not know Krishna are in illusion, and so knowledge of Krishna is liberation and ignorance of him is bondage. Verse is 9th. I am the original fragrance of the earth, and I am the heat in fire. I am the life of all that lives, that I am the penance of all ascetics. Punya means that which is not decomposed. Punya is original. Everything in the material world has a certain flavor or fragrance as a flavor and fragrance in a flower or in the earth, in water, in fire, in air, etc. The uncontaminated flavor, the original flavor which permeates everything is Christian. Similarly, everything has a particular original taste, and this taste can be changed by the mixture of chemicals. So, everything original has some smell, some fragrance, and some taste. Vivavasu means fire. Without fire, we cannot run factories, we cannot cook, etc. And that fire is Christian. The heat in the fire is Christian. Oh my God. According to Vedic medicine, indication is due to a low temperature in the belly. So, even for digestion, fire is needed. In Christian consciousness, we become aware that earth, water, fire, air, and every active principle, all chemicals and all material elements are due to Christian. The duration of man's life is also due to Christian. Therefore, by the grace of Christian, man can prolong his life or diminish it. So, Christian consciousness is active in every sphere. Versus strength. O son of Math, know that I am the original seed of all existences, the intelligence of the intelligent, and the process of all powerful men. Bija means seed. Christian is the seed of everything. Wow. There are various living entities, marvel and insect, birds, beasts, man, and many other living creatures are moving living entities. Trees and plants, however, are insert. They cannot move but only stand. Every entity is contained within the scope of 8 crore 4 lakh species of life. Some of them are moving and some of them are inert in all cases. However, the seed of their life is Christian. As stated in Vedic literature, Brahman, or the supreme absolute truth, is that from which everything is emanating. Krishna is Brahman, the super me spirit. Brahman is impersonal and Brahman is personal. Impersonal Brahman is situated in the personal aspect that is stated in Bhagavad Gita. Therefore, originally, Krishna is the source of everything. He is the root, as the root of a tree maintains the whole tree. Krishna, being the original root of all things, maintains everything in this material manifestation. This is also confirmed in the Vedic literature. He is the prime eternal among all eternals. He is the supreme living entity of all living entities, and he alone is maintaining all life. One cannot do anything without intelligence, and Krishna also says that he is the root of all intelligence. Unless a person is intelligent, he cannot understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna. Verse is 11th. I am the strength of the strong, devoid of passion and desire. I am such life, which is not contrary to religious principles, O Lord of the birth, O Arjun. The strong man's strength should be applied to protect the weak, not for personal aggression. Similarly, sex life. According to religious principles, dharma should be for the propagation of children, not otherwise. The responsibility of parents is then to make their offspring Christian conscious. Verse is 12th. Know that all states of being, be they of goodness, patience, or ignorance, are manifested by my energy. I am, in one sense, everything, but I am independent. I am not under the modes of material nature, for they, on the contrary, are within me. All material activities in the world are being conducted under the three modes of material nature. Although these material modes of nature are emanations from the Supreme Lord Krishna, he is not subject to them. For instance, under the certain laws, one may be punished, but the king, the lawmaker, is not subject to that law. Similarly, all the modes of material nature, goodness, passion, and ignorance, are emanations from the Supreme Lord Krishna, but Krishna is not subject to material nature. Therefore, he is Nirgun, which means that these gunas or modes, although issuing from him, do not affect him. That is one of the special characteristics of Bhagavan or the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Verses 13th. Deluded by the three modes, goodness, passion, and ignorance, the whole world does not know me, who am above the modes and inexhaustible. The whole world is enchanted by three modes of material nature. Those who are bewildered by these three modes cannot understand that transcendental to this material nature is the Supreme Lord Krishna. Every living entity under the influence of material nature has particular type of body and a particular type of psychology and biological activities. Accordingly, there are four classes of man functioning in the three material modes of nature. Those who are purely in the mode of goodness are called Brahmans. Those who are purely in the mode of passions are called Kshatriyas. Those who are in the modes of both passion and ignorance are called Vaisyas. Those who are completely in ignorance are called Sudra, and those who are less than that are animals or animal life. However, these designations are not permanent. I may either be a Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaisya, or whatever. In any case, this life is temporary, But although life is temporary and we do not know what we are going to be in the next life, by the spell of this illusory energy, we consider ourselves in terms of this bodily conception of life, and we thus think that we are American, Indian, Russian, or Brahman, Hindu, Muslim, etc. And if we become entangled with the modes of material nature, then we forget the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is behind all these modes. So Lord Krishna says that living entities deluded by these three modes of nature do not understand that behind the material background is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. There are many different kinds of living entities: human beings, demigods, animals, etc. And each and every one of them is under the influence of material nature, and all of them have forgotten the transcendent personality of Godhead. Those who are in the modes of passion and ignorance, and even those who are in the mode of goodness, cannot go beyond the impersonal Brahman conception of the absolute truth. They are bewildered before the Supreme Lord in His personal feature, which possess all beauty, opulence, knowledge, strength, fame, and renunciation, when even those who are in goodness cannot understand. What hope is there for those in passion and ignorance? Christian consciousness is transcendental to all these three modes of material nature, and those who are truly established in Christian consciousness are actually liberated.